Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. This is JB.
And I'm Chandler, and this is the Unbiased Hard Take. And today on the Unbiased Hard Take, topic one is the Saints signed Derek Carr. They ended up signing him to a 4-year deal worth $150 million. What do you think of the move the Saints signing Derek Carr?
Well, for me, I think good for him. He's on. Derek Carr was on a good established team when Jameis Winston was there, but the Saints is gonna have a massive issue with their salary cap when ever since Derek Carr got his signing.
I agree
So
100%. They're in the negative cap, aren't they?
yeah, I do believe so.
They're
And
known for
then
doing that in the past.
oh yeah, and I do believe I seen this on someone else's podcast not too long ago when I was on break at work. There was there because the NBA, remember the NBA has a rule of people selling or trading their picks off way too much, right?
Yes.
And that now there's can only have so many. You can only trade so many. And right now, I do believe in a few years, all because of what the Saints is doing, is that they're going to start having a rule where you cannot trade picks that is rightfully yours.
I could see that, especially with what the Rams did these past few years, trading their
Yep.
future for that one champion.
Yep. And
So they need to
that's
rebuild that roster. They're screwed.
oh yeah. That's how it normally works because trade your picks to get the people that you want here and there, but it's gonna bite them at the end because look how this Rams did this year. I mean, even though that they had um multiple injuries that kinda screwed them over to at the beginning, and it went downhill from there for them. But for the
Right.
Saints, I mean, they have to get rid of so many people because right now, Jameis Winston has 12.8 million on their base salary right now, so they have to get rid of him, like,
I don't see
tremendously.
them. Because I don't see them paying $12 million for a backup quarterback who's
No,
been injured the last 2 seasons.
exactly. But yeah,
Because Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, Ian Book, these guys, Andy Dalton, these guys just aren't the answer.
well, Taysom Hill is technically considered a tight end, in which he has because I have all of their contract signings and all that on here. Taysom Hill, his base salary is at 1.08 mil, but
Right.
the cap hit for him is at 6.8. We should go 8.9 mil.
I think he's worth that though. Because he's like you said, he doesn't really have a position at all.
No, he
They
normally
just
has
list him as
yeah because
tight end.
he normally has multiple positions that they can do, but
He's like this like today's world's autogram playing like 100 positions.
exactly. And then
He's yeah.
either back in the day, Cordell Stewart, because Cordell Stewart was a quarterback, he was
Yep.
a receiver, corner, and a safety. So
Right. Terrell Pryor's another one recently. Um, yeah, I agree. And is Derek Carr a top 5 quarterback in the league? No, he is not. Can he get
no,
you to the playoffs?
no,
Yeah. Do I? You don't think so?
no.
He had six.
I mean, look who he had on offense last year. He had Devontae
Right.
Adams, the number one receiver in the NFL. He had Josh Jacobs, the number or either I would say a top 5 running back in the league that year,
Russian
and
crown.
they still did not go to the playoffs. Was it the
But you got to ask.
offensive line?
They did. They did the year before. But what was the difference? They didn't have Devontae Adams.
Exactly. What's the difference? I mean, they really didn't change anything on defense, what to my knowledge.
Yeah, their defense is horrendous. And you got to think though, he's had 6 head coaches in his. That's a lot of regime changes.
And to think
Because
they went to
year,
the playoffs with just a person off basically feels like off the streets, which on
yeah,
their
Rick
last
Pisaccia.
game, yeah, on their last game
Right.
they wanted a tie. Like, why would you want to tie against a team that's if I think it was in your conference.
Right.
Like, why would you even wanna do that to begin with? I mean, like, I would say, "Screw you. I'm taking this dub.
I
Easy.
think the
Screw
rate
you guys."
I think the Raiders not making the playoffs has everything to do with the Raiders and a little to do with Carr. I think Derek Carr is Dak Prescott of the AFC.
Oh, yeah.
He's an above average quarterback with a good supporting cast, could probably make you a deep playoff run with a good cast around him.
Yeah.
Um, got also he's gonna have. Well, I'm not really sure how Alvin Kamara is gonna if he's even gonna play at all. That new clip of him with that assault in that Pro Bowl that's not a good clip.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's gonna play. Michael Thomas, you got a decent offensive line, one of the best defenses in the league. I think with the team that New Orleans has, they can at least be a playoff team with Derek Carr.
Right. But, I mean, and also, you have to think about Michael Thomas because there was talk that they're gonna reconstruct his, contract, and they're not gonna, reconstruct his contract right now because of they're in a massive cap space problem, and they gotta get rid of a lot of people.
That
They
cap hit, or the owner will have to take a cap hit. One or the other have to pay it out of pocket.
Yep, it's either that or get rid or, for example, Alvin Kamara and Jameis Winston, because Alvin Kamara is probably not gonna play for a while because since he's in a jam right now with legal actions.
Right. Michael Thomas has an injury history.
Yep, and Michael Thomas has injury history, but he says that he's ready to go in this season because who knows what. But he said that
They
last
all
year, but
say that.
they all say that.
Right. Sammy Watkins said that for Green Bay too. Well, I mean, he ended up getting cut.
Exactly.
We didn't have a damn receiver worth a damn the first 10 weeks of the season.
Nope.
Still got cut. It's like if he ain't, I think Michael Thomas has peaked. We've seen the best we will see of Michael Thomas. The rest will be flashes, and then I do think the Saints made the right decision. I mean, you cannot go 5, 10 years without a quarterback. You'll be in the NFL purgatory. You will lose and lose and lose and lose.
Yep.
But the Raiders not making the playoffs, I think, has shows their dysfunction. A couple years ago, they just signed Carr to that big extension and gave him a no trade clause. And a year or two later, you just cut him.
Yeah.
That's like the Chiefs going, "I'm done with Patrick Mahomes." Cut him. I know Derek Carr's no Patrick Mahomes, but Derek Carr or Jared Stidham.
Exactly.
I just don't understand the Raiders' philosophy. I really, really don't.
I don't
'Cause
think
even last year on one of his worst seasons, he still had 24 touchdowns compared to 14 interceptions. That's still a respectable number.
yeah.
Made the Pro Bowl. That's an alternative. I mean, I know the Pro Bowl is not what it used to be, but I mean, not like he had like the worst season of his career. No,
Yeah.
I just don't understand what
I
is
think
wrong
no
with
one
the
does at
Raiders.
this point. I think
With
no
the
one does,
Raiders,
not even the Raiders probably don't even know at this point.
the circus.
It is.
And Josh Jacobs has sort of confirmed that in locker room frustrations and interviews this past season. Players were frustrated. I mean, the year the Raiders even made the playoffs, Henry Ruggs arrested. I forget the other linebacker's name who said he was going to kill someone with a weapon. And then they had the John Gruden emails, and it's just that was all in one season, and they still made the playoffs.
Yeah.
I But then you get Devontae Adams, and you have a consistent coach, and then you can't make the playoffs, even with the NFL's leading rusher. That
Yeah.
something is wrong with the franchise. There has to be.
Yeah,
Have
there
that
has
much
to be.
dysfunction. That much dysfunction. I've never heard of anything like that. Not that much in 1 year.
And the coaches wasn't even that bad, honestly. I think it was just a player atmosphere in the locker room, like you said. It was horrible.
And why
Horrible
they hired,
locker room and
yeah, and why they hired McDaniels anyways. You had Rick Pistachia, who led you to the playoffs. He's the special teams coach of the Packers now. They didn't even hire him back to bring him back next year after he led them to the playoffs. I
but
do not understand.
probably that is also I think it was also the part of it was John Gruden kind of got into a winning season that year. But I mean
Right.
like we said, I mean John Gruden is John Gruden. I mean, the reason why he left the NFL in the first place is I'm surprised they even let him come back.
Right after he had that Monday night gig, I agree.
Yep.
I was surprised, and they signed him to a long deal.
Mhm.
Yep, didn't work
Yep.
out.
Now they're paying for it.
Exactly. That's all the time we have for that topic today. On a side note, I am recovering from a little bit of a cold, so bear with my voice and sniffles. So kind of excuse me on that. But topic two today, we have Daniel Jones signed a 4-year deal worth $160 million, while the Giants franchise tagged Barkley. Did the Giants make the right move?
No. No. I think it should have
You
been
don't
flip.
think Danny Dimes is worth 160 million?
No. He he is not worth it. I mean, you should I'm if I was Saquon, I'll be furious at this point. I mean, you put that team on your back for multiple seasons and you only get one franchise tag and that franchise tag is worth 10 million.
Yeah, and then
A-
Danny
And
Dimes walks away with the bag.
while a you're getting an average quarterback that can sometimes make a good throw here and there, but is not he's not really consistent.
No, no, he's more of a running threat, and the only reason he's a running threat at all is because they have Saquon.
Exactly, but I mean, even if he runs, he'll trip over his feet anyways when he gets a big if he gets a big gain. So I mean, it's whatever at that point.
I
But
mean,
no,
Danny Dimes,
if
like
I
you say,
was
he's average.
Saquon, if I was Saquon this year, I mean, I'll still play my heart out, but I wouldn't play hard as much. I'll give him 10 million worth, and that's about it. I'm if they want to give a quarterback that's worth 160 mil, they can have it. I'll give him
I
10 millions worth. I'll give him 1,000 yards, but I don't expect
and
much from me.
and you're exactly right. They did the opposite of what they should have done. They should have signed Barkley to an extension, and it's franchise tag Danny Dimes.
Exactly. Give Danny
That's
Di
what they should have
I
done.
if I was the GM for the Giants, I would exactly what you said. I would have flipped it, but and told put Daniel Jones sitting down in my office. I'm like, you're not worth it. Either if you sign get this franchise tag and get this 10 million like with like Saquon and show me that you're worth 160 million this season, and then maybe we'll talk a contract next year. But until then, you're not worth it.
I absolutely agree. Then you see, like, I am not a fan of running quarterbacks for longevity. I think they can win you a Super Bowl. They can get you there. But for
Mhm.
10, 15, 20 years, that's not going to happen. These guys take a beating too much. You think Lamar Jackson's going to be and Daniel Jones are going to be as good as running in 10 more years? No,
I think they're
absolutely
gonna
not.
once they realize that they're gonna be more and more sore at the end of the season when they get older. I think they're gonna stop.
Exactly. And you've seen Russell Wilson kind of do that. It became public that he didn't want to run as much. You see how that worked. Yes, Russell Wilson can throw a football, but
Yep.
that's also reliant on his threat to run. You have to
Exactly.
respect Russell's ability to run. And he's getting older, not wanting to do that as much. So now they're not respecting that run as much. And you've
Yep.
seen what happened last year.
Exactly.
And that's going to happen with like Mike Vick. A lot of people forget Mike Vick played for the Steelers. How'd he look in Pittsburgh? Not
It
like he did in Philly and Atlanta,
No, but I mean his passing got a lot better.
right? But
I
was he
mean
a
he
franchise quarterback like he used to be?
passing wise, no, but I mean if he was an amazing backup, on that season we still went to the playoffs when Ben
Right.
Roethlisberger got hurt, and I think we went to the conference finals and we lost that. But well, but not but other than that, but Vic was a real amazing backup quarterback. I was even surprised that the Steelers picked him up that year, and I was
I
happy too.
was too.
I was really
And I
happy.
agree. He was a good fill-in, but he wasn't what he was in Atlanta
Yeah,
or in
exactly.
his stint in Philly. He had,
Yeah,
and you're telling me, Daniel Jones makes more than Pat Mahomes?
yeah, no.
That's insane. That is insane. What is New York thinking? Like, I'm not the biggest Pat Mahomes guy. I'm not, but he is elite talent and the best quarterback in the league right now. He is. He just
Mhm,
is. And
exactly.
the fact that Danny Dimes is making more than Pat Mahomes, shows that the Giants will never win the Super Bowl because Danny Dimes needs a supporting cast. How are you going to get
Mhm.
him a supporting cast when you're paying him
160 mil.
$160 million? Come on. Like, he didn't even throw for 20 touchdowns. He had over 20 total with running. Like, he's never hit 4,000 yards passing. Just isn't he's an above average quarterback who can get you to the playoffs, maybe.
And then screw it over at the end at the for his first playoff where Saquon carried him on their back.
And they beat the Vikings. That was at least funny. I was rooting for Danny Dimes that day.
And how did he show up?
They won the game, and that's all. They eliminated the Vikings, and that's what matters to me. It
All
could be
because of
3 to
Saquon.
0 or 3 to nothing or 42 nothing. I don't care.
It was
So
all
long
because
as
of
the
Saquon.
Vikings, it was. But so long as the Vikings never win a Super Bowl, I'm good with it. They're just he's just not worth that money. I think the reason they gave him so much money is the fear around the league is if I don't have a quarterback, I will suck. So people are overpaying these quarterbacks that just are not worth it
Exactly.
because they're
It's
afraid to be irrelevant.
I mean, there will always be quarterbacks on the market. I mean, there always will be. I mean, I could pick some people right now that's in the market that's better than Daniel Dimes.
I mean,
So,
you're right. Derek Carr was on the market. A Rod's on the market. Lamar's on the market. You're exactly right.
well, technically, Aaron Rodgers may not be on the market for too long.
And God, because I'm good with it. I actually think we have to be living in like a time loop simulation thing because
For the
Brett
Packers,
Favre,
yes.
in general, it makes
Mhm.
it's baffling to me. Packer quarterbacks have long careers, win one Super Bowl, win MVPs, and go play for the Jets.
Either Jets or the Vikings. 'Cause
They
remember,
can they can go ahead and they can have A Rod last 2 3 years where he'll be washed up when he's 42, 43. I don't think he'll play that long personally.
right?
I don't think he'll play long. I think he'll play 1 year with the Jets.
And see how horrible they were and go to the Vikings.
I think he'll retire after this year. After this coming up season, I don't think he wants to give it one more go. I don't want it to be with the Packers. Personally, I'm ready. I am ready to move on with Love. Time. He looked really good in that Philly game. Looked really good in other moments like the Vikings game. I think he's ready. And I had a glimpse of it, kind of like we did it with Rodgers and Dallas in '07 when Favre kind of went down that game.
Right.
But that's the time we have for that topic today. Topic 3 today will be the Ravens place the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson. For the audience that do not know what the non-exclusive tag is, it's a very rare. Um, and the non-exclusive tag pretty much Lamar's allowed, for example, to go sign with the Falcons or whatever. Get a contract the Ravens could match. If they match, he belongs to Baltimore, or they could say go wherever you want, but the Ravens can take 2 first-round picks from that team. Where do you think Lamar will go because of that non-exclusive tag?
Well, there are 2
Two first-round
teams
picks. That's a lot.
exactly, but will they pay the price for a unanimous MVP, I think, yeah, multiple MVPs, and a playoff contender quarterback that can take him to the playoffs, possibly the Super Bowl if they have the right team. So you only have 2 options at this point.
Right.
You have the Falcons,
He
and
came
you
out
have
and publicly and said they weren't interested.
yeah, but they still need a quarterback. So
It's true. And how many
I'm
times do you see owners go, "We're not going to cut this player." 3 days later, they cut that player.
exactly.
Oh, you're right. I mean, you can't believe anything.
Yeah,
And the Falcons makes a lot of sense. They cut Mariota or Ritter is just not it, in my opinion. I agree. I think Atlanta makes a lot of sense.
because they have young talent. They have
They
a
got
lot of
cap space, I believe, second most in the league
I
behind
think so.
Chicago.
Yeah, I think so.
They have the second most cap, so that actually makes financial sense as well, not just football sense.
Yeah.
People
What
forget that
was
it needs to be both.
do we know how much the, franchise tag is worth?
I do not know on a non-exclusive tag. No, the non-exclusive tag though, nobody has ever had the non-exclusive tag and went somewhere else. The last time a quarterback had the non-exclusive tag placed on him was Matt Castle in '09, and he got shipped off to Kansas City for the audience old enough to remember that. It's a very rare franchise tag.
Yeah.
See it too often, and
So
that really, to me, shows that there really must be some issues between the Ravens front office and Lamar.
well, and also Lamar, what I seen, Lamar doesn't have an agent.
His
He's by himself.
mom's his agent. He doesn't have like an official licensed agent, so to speak.
Yeah,
His mom represents him. He's great and loyal and all, but let me tell you something. You need an agent. Your agent protects you.
exactly.
It's a protection because the Ravens, I'm sure, are worried about hurting Lamar and his mom's feelings,
Mhm.
but they might be willing to negotiate a little better with an agent. Now, of course, rumor is they're $100 million roughly apart. And talk is he wants more money than Deshaun Watson. And to me, that's why he hasn't been signed. Like everyone keeps saying, if this was Joe Burrow, he would have already had it by now. And you're exactly right. But here's
Mhm.
why. Here's why. It has nothing. People keep like pulling the race card, and it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the running quarterback. If it was about race, the Browns would never have given Deshaun Watson that ridiculous. The
Mhm.
issue is when have we let the Browns set the standard for anything beyond losing? I'm not. If I'm an owner, I'm not letting the Browns set the quarterback market. What
No,
do they know about anything at all?
nothing.
Nothing. The Browns do what Browns do. They make stupid, ignorant decisions that other competent teams will not do. I do not think any player, I don't care if Patrick Mahomes is worth a contract Deshaun Watson got.
Yeah.
Football is a 53-man sport plus practice squad. One player is not winning you a championship.
So on here, I figured out um estimate, I think, of the contract what Lamar's gotten. It's on spotrac.com. If you guys want
Right?
to check it out, you can guys look it out for yourself.
So
Non-sponsored.
licensing, we do not own or represent anything from them. So that in
Non-sponsored
mind,
or anything. It's just
right?
a stats
Mm,
that we can get off of for this podcast. But
all
for
credit
Lamar
for them.
Jackson, for his 1 year is 32,416,000 for his that one franchise tag.
And that's a good amount of number, but I think Lamar is he's really financially smart. I think it's
Hmm.
sort of selfish to a point. He's a running quarterback. Running quarterbacks, like I said earlier, don't last as long. So I think he wants that
I
financial
think
stability, not 1 year.
I think that 1 year when he ran all that much, he ran so much like Justin Fields last year. He ran for so many yards, and then everyone's
But
saying that he's a
Lamar can
running
throw.
quarterback. And now the next year, Lamar showed him's like, hey, I can throw too. And he
Yes,
barely ran. He threw the ball. He read everything. And I think he is a versatile quarterback. He can do both.
I
Just
agree, and I
Justin
think he's a
Fields not so
franchise
much.
quarterback. The issue is the amount he's asking for. If I'm an NFL general manager, I'm not even getting Pat Mahomes that money.
No.
I'm not. I'm just not. Like, and what baffles me the most is the double standard mainstream media say, and that's why it's one reason we started this podcast is because this bullcrap media that ESPN and NFL Network all talk and all the bias, especially Skip and Shannon, because they, especially that show, what they'll do is criticize Aaron Rodgers for his contract number. That
Mhm.
he's selfish and he's a narcissist. Oh, not a good teammate. Rodgers, all he cares about the money, and then turn around and go, "Yeah, Lamar's just trying to get his money. Take care of him and his family." It has
Yeah.
to be one or the other. Why? 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 It's because the media hates Aaron Rodgers. and they love Lamar Jackson. It's a narrative thing that plays into their politics.
And everyone and then all the, sports critics is making Aaron Rodgers look like he is the bad guy. You can even see it on himself or when he was on Aaron Rodgers, what is it called on Pat McAfee show? Aaron Rodgers Tuesday?
A-Rod Tuesday, yeah, Aaron
Yeah,
Rodgers Tuesday.
A-Rod Tuesday or something?
Aaron
Love that
Rodgers Tuesday. Yep.
love that podcast, by the way, and I love Pat McAfee.
Pat
But,
McAfee's awesome, and you know,
he is awesome.
yes, and he's hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Pat.
But, but yeah, like, he even said it himself, it's like, "The media is taking me as the bad guy," and he's like, "I really don't care." Like, I'm just playing, regardless of what anybody takes me as. It's like, I'm gonna play, and
Right.
it is what it is.
And I'm not even sure these Jets rumors that Hackett and coach and the owner went out to talk to him and I'm not even buying that. I don't even believe that report because the report first said Green Bay. Well, then it said California to his home. So which one is it? Number one. And number two, Aaron Rodgers has said himself on the Pat McAfee show that Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter are great at their job, and I believe they are way
Mhm.
better than I would be. But his inner circle does not speak to those people. Do not
No
believe
one.
what they say about me. And then Rappaport comes out the other day and goes, "Oh, the Jets are speaking with A-Rod." He just said, "Don't believe." Rodgers just said himself, "Don't believe it," and people are out there believing it again.
Well, and
Damn
also
it!
also
Why?
you
Because the mainstream media said it.
well, and I
Because
think it's
they know
also
what they're talking about.
they also have to give out reports of what players are talking to who since, they're part of the team. So I think
And that
that's
that could be it. And he could have talked to the Packers.
he talked to the I think he talked to the Packers. I do believe 100% certain that he did talk to the Jets, and they could see that they're I know this is off topic because I'm not now we're talking about the Jets and not about Daniel Jones, but I mean Daniel
That's
Jones,
okay.
he no, he's dumb.
That's the best part of a podcast. We can just go do whatever the hell we want.
Exactly. But no, he I mean, if they get rid of Zach Wilson, which I'm 100% sure they're gonna get rid of Zach Wilson.
I'm not. I think they're going to groom him. Do you see where Zach Wilson and Aaron Rodgers have an actual personal friendship relationship?
No, I did not. That is
They
new news
talk
to
to each
me.
other. Zach
Oh.
Wilson was a fan of A-Rod when Zach Wilson was coming up. I think this is what they'll do. You bring in A-Rod for a year or two, however long he wants to do it. You make your run at the Super Bowl. Let's go. Boom. Let's win the Super Bowl with A-Rod. And
Mhm.
then maybe Rodgers, with that connection he has with Wilson, can maybe groom, mentor him that next year or two. Then
Make
maybe
him
when Rodgers
mature
is
and
ready to call it quits, yep,
make him
mature him
mature
up,
and
teach him the game.
not trying to have sex with, mothers.
Yes, mature him up a little bit, get him ready to play. Exactly.
MILF hunter.
Exactly. Yee. I do think that's what they're going to try to do is bring in the old veteran quarterback, go at that run because they have a defense. They have offensive
Oh,
rookie of the
yeah.
year receiver. They got some weapons.
They have offensive
They
rookie of the
got
year and defensive rookie of the year.
Sauce Gardner. They have a decent tight end. They got some supporting players. They do, and they have a good head coach.
Yep.
And Nathaniel
Yep.
Hackett's their offensive coordinator, who used to be Green Bay's offensive coordinator. So Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers have a connection. Hackett's not a bad coach. He's a
Mm-mm.
bad head coach.
Exactly.
You
You can
can be a. Sorry, my bad, brother.
no, no, Hackett, he can be I think he could be, like, a fantastic head coach. I think he just needs to be more versatile, like, with the defense as well. But he's a strong-minded person when it comes to offense. And what we seen, when it was at Denver, I mean, that was I think he had too much on Nathaniel Hackett had too much on his plate at that point. And
And
with
that's what right, and I agree. As a head coach, you can't worry about the offense as much. You have to worry about the whole team.
mhm. And I
You
think
can be the best coordinator in the league and then turn out to be the shittiest coach and head coach in the league.
yep.
I think he's probably a top 10 coordinator.
I
He
do
just
believe
gets a
so.
bad rap
Yeah, all
because of the
because of
Russell
that.
Wilson.
All because that head coach. He took the head coaching spot at, Denver, and And you would think
They
that
under yeah,
that they would shine, and they had, like, an amazing defense too at that point, but then I do
and they
believe the
still did.
injuries. Oh, yeah, and they still do, but I mean, they went with 100 to a 0 real quick.
Yes, and I it can't all be on Hackett. Russell Wilson is to blame for something. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But yeah, Russell Wilson has to have that blame because he did nothing. I don't
He
know if he was had his own office, he was so excited to have his own office in the Denver Broncos headquarters. Who knows? Who knows
it
at that point?
took him almost all season for touchdowns as many touchdowns as he did bathrooms.
Yeah, but
Pathetic. That's all the time we have for that topic today. Last topic for the day, we're going to scoot over to the world of the NBA. The Colorado police are investigating Memphis Grizzlies star Ja Morant after the gun incident on Instagram. When do you think Ja will play again?
I would say probably since this season, regular season is almost done. I think it has about like what 15, 17 more games left until the playoffs or the
Give or
playing
take,
games.
yeah,
Yeah,
give
17
or
to
take,
15
probably.
games. So he's not going to see the court probably until because I've seen the report. They said 50 plus games for the Memphis Grizzlies um, for that issue. So I do believe it's probably either going to be the mid of next season or and probably in 2025.
Ooh, wow. I thought I was harsh. My God, I actually think he'll just miss the rest of this season in the playoffs. 'Cause did some research. The NBA is very strict with their gun laws,
Mhm.
like not really laws, but policies. They don't allow guns on premises. Neither does the National Football League. It's cool, whatever. So to get his gun where he had it, he had to have took it in NBA facilities, and the NBA is. I'm telling you, they will investigate this even after the police do,
Mhm. So
and
at
he's gonna get hit.
whatever after the police reports comes through, and then whatever add on to what the NBA is going to give because he had it
I don't,
on the
right,
team's plane. He had it
right.
in. He probably had it before he even went on the plane to
Yep,
on the. So he probably had the Memphis Grizzlies facilities to get
yep.
on the airplane or the airport. The like I said before, the team's airplanes, the Denver's
That's a massive crime to bring a gun on a plane.
exactly.
What the hell is he thinking?
Even even with a even Denver's facilities and the club, that's like 6 or 7 different areas that you cannot allow to have guns, especially the
Exactly.
club.
Well, I did some research, and Gilbert Arenas back in '08, something very similar. His wasn't Instagram, obviously it wasn't around, but he brought a handgun in '08 to the Wizards facility. He
Mhm.
actually didn't play the rest of the season, and that happened early on in the year. I agree with you. I think he'll end up missing the rest of this year, the playoffs, and probably 20 to 30 games next year. I think he will play next year, but I think he will miss at least the beginning.
And well, for that and also whatever how much time they're gonna give him, and even if he's gonna use that time because he did say that he is going to take some therapy or some rehab sessions for his issues because you have to
And
think about
I'm glad.
and I'm glad for him. He was messed up in the head
And he's
because
taking responsibility for his actions. He's not making excuses.
exactly. I mean that. I mean
I like that.
I'll give him that.
Oh, absolutely.
He is putting himself accountable that he did mess up, but
Yep.
he was trying to be all hood and all gangster and all that. But for being in the NBA, you have kids looking up towards you, looking up at you, and it's like I want to be just like you. Do you want to have other kids and your foundation that you created to have kids to be just like you, pulling up guns in clubs or in markets or anything like that and showing them off on Instagram. No, I don't.
Exactly. And
No, that's
did he commit this massive crime? No.
no.
Have players done many worse things?
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah. So do I think he should be crucified for it?
no.
Do I think he should at least get suspended for the rest of this year at minimum? Yes, I do.
Hmm.
He's taking therapy. He's apologized. He's a young star. It's not going to ruin his career, but if he does it again, it might.
Oh yeah,
He needs to learn from this mistake.
and he needs to learn fast
And I'm
because
rooting for him.
I am rooting for him. I mean, he is an amazing ball player.
Yeah, and I
He
like the
he
Grizzlies because
he
I
is.
like small market teams.
Yeah,
The
and the
Grizzlies
Grizzlies
are a
really
smaller
haven't.
market team.
And the Grizzlies really hasn't had anything really to begin with.
Other than that, here they had a couple playoff runs at the Western Conference Finals with Zach Randolph and
Hmm.
Pau Gasol's brother, Marc Gasol, and all them. So they've Mike Conley. So they've had decent years, but I'm really rooting for them because I want to see the Grizzlies do well. I'm tired of seeing these mainstream big market teams win all the time.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, excuse me, excuse me. Ooh. But John Moran is top 5. I do believe he is either top 5 or top 10 point guard in the NBA right now currently.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
And for that, I hope he whatever he does, he it will stick with him for good. So I do believe hopefully he will succeed and be amazing as ever or whatever. But I'm rooting for him. Hopefully, he keeps his right mindset after this suspension that NBA's and or the the Colorado Police Department is going to give him. But other than that, I strongly root for him all the way.
I am too. Rooting for your mental health, Ja. Get better,
Hmm.
brother. Um, all we got time for today. Anything else you want to add?
Nope, I am good to go.
And that's all we have for today's unbiased hard take. It may have not have been the take you wanted to hear, but
It is the truth.
that's right, and that's all we can ask for. Thank you guys for joining in this week, and as always, we'll see you next week.
And
Thank y'all.
tell us in the comments down below and see what's your favorite team and interact with us. Because
All right,
we will respond to any comments that anything that you guys give us. So go ahead, comment,
hit
subscribe,
that subscribe button. That
hit that
subscribe
bell
button.
button to see any notifications that we give out.
Because we're not like First Take and Undisputed. We will speak the truth, whether because we don't report to any higher ups.
Nope, it's just us.
All right, I'm Prophet. So, y'all next week.
See ya.